Da 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 da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never met me before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. Today was chore day. I am getting pretty close. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I see the finish line in those projects that I put on my list, those things that I've been putting off because, well, there's always something more important to attend to in the moment, right? We make these lists with good intent, but when things get tight, you fall behind, right? You prioritize, and what's not most important, it comes off or gets postponed. And today, I'd really like to see, you know, I've still got floors and walls to wash and stuff, but corner to corner in my house is looking so much better. I even started hacking away at the wall behind me, the shelf. It was like this much of dust, and the books all being messy was just kind of right. That perfectionist part of us. And I tell you, I'm nowhere's near a perfectionist, but when things are not in place, that's what drives me crazy because it's how I find things. Normally, if you guys have hung out with me for any length of time, you know my memory is not top notch on anything. But I find that, if I bring something into my household and I think before I put it down, if I was looking for this, where would be the first place I would look for it? And then that's home. That's the place that item goes because there's going to come a moment that you're going to need it and you'll go, oh, but where did I put it? Right? And it will be, you can just say, if you can't you don't have to go into panic mode. Oh my goodness, where did I put it? I can't remember. Did I lend it to somebody? No, you know where its home is supposed to be, right? It's the first place that you would look if you needed it. You go there and there it is. And quite often people think it's so strange because I am so eclectic, that I like doodads, I like nature, I like bits and bobs, and I find it curious and interesting because when I grab these, I'm not the first owner of them, right? But I find them curious and I think, what was the person like who first decided that they had to have this item? And then why did they let it go, right? And then I watch myself. I spectate myself when I start going through my things and saying, okay, that can go. I've had this too long. Today, I parted with two items that I've been holding on for a very long time, and they needed to go, and I just listed them right away. They were gone. I had a pair of cute little gloves, Nordic gloves. I don't think I paid more than $1.50 for them. I got $20 for them. That was the easiest 20 ever. Just took a minute of my time to take some pictures and set the price that I wanted, and they were gone. I had a ceramic Christmas tree. $60 for that. Oh, my big picture. I had a big yellow picture. I think I paid $7. I think I paid about $5 for it, and I made $35 off of that. I thought that was pretty good for a day that I was spending at home getting these finishing touches done, where I can actually sit down and relax and start applying myself in those goals, right? I am doing it in baby steps. Right now, it's a lot of being in these projects and working through in my mind what I want to be doing. And for me, that is an action because I am a thinker. I like to just leave myself open for creative ideas. You know, I had a great one, but my sister Alice, she's like a rock planted in the ground, a great big 20-pound boulder. And there's no way sometimes that you can even budge her, even with the great ideas, because some people don't like change. And I had this great idea about starting my own secondhand store, my own thrift store, and calling it Prairie Dodgers, attaching it to my brand, and actually helping people who are trying to really get back on their feet, but just find it, socially, that sometimes it's difficult, or sometimes people get judged for the way they look, or the way they live. And I just thought, oh, it would be a great way, and I could hire people that would had difficulties in settling into establishments without feeling super uncomfortable, that they would feel like they were part of the team, part of the family, part of the crew. And I thought, oh yeah, and then I'll just set my brand up for sale. And then I'll sell my brand for a big pile of money, right? And it's all these ideas, but then you have to put in that action, because if I didn't right away move on that idea and start talking to my sister, I would have had all these plans and notes and all kinds of stuff going on, just to find out is right. It's a big boulder that I've been trying to convince into going on an adventure, because that's what it is. You don't know how it's going to work out. And for me myself, I believe that if you just move towards the things that you want, they open up and work for you. And she knows that too for herself, because she's the exact same way, and nothing opens up to her unless she puts that little bit of extra effort. It's one of the similarities me and my sister have. We get that little bit of push, that little bit of uncomfortable, that little bit of, right, that little bit of misery. They can't just leave us alone just so that we can enjoy our lives, right? And so, but with me, I tend to just say, fine. And I just move on, and I find another solution, right? Or another adventure, another experience. My sister, though, she will dig her heels in for sure, because she's not somebody big on change, right? Mind you, she moved out of her last apartment pretty fast. She didn't get much. When she makes a decision, when she does make a decision, it's a snap decision. She doesn't waste any time on it. But if she has this idea, if she's got to contemplate on anything, it's a no. But that was good for me to know too, right? Because now, I can let up on that idea and move into something else, knowing that as long as I'm moving into something else, things will open up, and I'll get another idea. I got a few more ideas, and I'm managing okay, right? This month's house bills, I'm going to take care of those tomorrow, and I did that by myself in that little bit of reselling and clearing out my house at the same time, and being able to research on some of these things that I'm selling, and recognizing I'm doing pretty good in fine art. And you can get wall art super inexpensive in the stores, because I don't know why the resellers don't buy them, because I think for myself, I believe that people would much rather, because it's wall art, they don't want to go to a store and dig through all the pictures to find something that they have in their own mind to what they want and have it up on the wall. They would much rather just go online, and while they're sitting watching TV, and just scroll their artwork. And I think that's why I do so well in artwork. Plus, it's more than likely going to be a pre-used item, right? When you're on Marketplace or on Kijiji selling these items. So they're likely to get a better deal. And for myself, I never buy anything ripped or damaged. It would have to be pretty magnificent, like that Swarovski crystal necklace that me and my sister got. She's got it up right now, I think, for $10,000. She paid $159 for that, but that's going to take forever to sell. She took the necklace actually to Swarovski uh, to see if she could get the stones replaced, and she can get stones replaced but not the same stones because that necklace was discontinued. And but the woman who was just absolutely thrilled because she didn't even know that this necklace existed, and she had been with the company, she had never seen the necklace before, and she was just totally enthralled. She took pictures so she could show everybody in the company and everything. And yeah, but $10,000 for something that $159. And then we donate. Like when we go there, we always donate, but we donate and we get a little 20% off coupon. So in that, she gets another 20% off. So she got another probably couple $100 off in the in the in the necklace, but it was pretty magnificent. Had a big case and it opened up, and it was just Swarovski crystals. Oh my goodness. I'll get her to send me a picture of it sometime, and I'll show you guys. It's a good score. Like my sister is pretty genius sometimes, you know, when she finds items online, like it's pretty incredible that you can find something pretty inexpensive and then to be able to possibly put a roof over your head with these things. But now with the tariffs and right, everybody's working on the deficits and stuff. And I believe, right, for myself, I believe we should all pay taxes, whether you're well to do or low income, you have to contribute to the country and to the province that you live in or the states that you live in if you're an American, right? I believe that, but unfortunately, it isn't a fair game, right? Because there's lots of people out there who don't pay their fair share when it comes to paying taxes. Lots of people are gazillionaires and they have all these outs in the tax system, so they end up not having to pay any tax at all. But we can only be responsible for our own actions, right? So yeah, right, we adapt, we conquer, we ride the waves, right? We deal with the wrenches that get thrown into our lives, and each one of us is responsible for that. But sitting there and just being miserable because Joe Barkley there, he's a gazillionaire and he doesn't have to pay any taxes at all. That's not going to do anything for you, right? Except make you miserable. And it's not, if he's a gazillionaire, like, what are you going to be able to do about it anyways? Right? You can be one of those people, but do you want to make yourself miserable? Do you want to make that your campaign in life? Right? And then just sitting at home and being an armchair grumbler about that's even worse, right? Because that just makes you negative. And again, when you're negative state, then you're allowing yourself to be open for other ideas to come through in that, right? Make you feel worse. And then when you feel worse, right, it's kind of viral, isn't it? Who wants to be around somebody all miserable and cranky and complaining and right? I certainly don't like to do that. I normally don't have those kind of people around me, not that they're bad people or anything, because I was that person myself. But when you're trying to do better by yourself, you're trying to do better by yourself. And one of those things is not to let those circumstances and those beings around you that are just going to drag you right down back into the bucket. I mean, if they can manage to grab onto a coattail and it's a little bit extra effort, but you're okay with that, then sure. But otherwise, you just got to kick that off and just not even think about it, right? Because we, as sensitives, right, we can guilt ourselves right to the bone, right to the ground, because right, who likes to see people struggle? Who likes to see people suffering? Because people are suffering, right? And again, it's in that situation of being right, and each one of us gets to choose in that. And but we're not responsible, right? We're not responsible to reach beyond our reach, right? And lots of us think that we can save the world, that we're responsible for everybody. And again, that just will drag us down. And once we start getting dragged down, we get all miserable about it. And then who wants to be around us? Right? Who wants to be around us? Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm hoping everybody's having a good week. My week has started off so much better than last week, and you know, that I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. It's been a long time since I've touched grief in any way, and it was a reminder in right, that I'm not in in indefensive when it comes to that, because there was coming to the point where I felt like I was just too tough. I couldn't even remember when the last time I cried was, or but these past few months with the roller coaster of emotions, with the rush of my trip and my sister having an operation, and there's just like so many things going on. My poor cat passing away, that was unexpected, but unexpected happens in our life, and it's a good time for us to be in reflection when those, because we're not too much good for anything else, because we got to give ourselves that time to grieve, but to pay attention in that grief. And that's what I did, and there were lessons in that, and I recognized, right, that I don't need to harden up, right? People understand because they go through the exact same things, and sometimes we forget that because we're hanging out with ourselves and we're so involved in what's going on in our own lives, right, that we lose sight that we have commonalities with others, right? That other people have the same struggles, right? Just sometimes we're just in different boats, right? Different boats and different kinds of storms, right? Okay, you guys, we're just going to grab a card. We're going to go into it for a couple of minutes. If you haven't been with me before, these are just powerful words. Each card is a powerful word. I pull the card. We just go into it. First thing that comes to my mind in that moment in reflection of the word, and that's what we run with. Okay? Okay, here we go. Oh, I get this card. You guys hear me say this all the time, but I get this card all the time, and there's no reason for me. They're exact to the millimeter, the exact size to each other, and And yeah, there's no reason for me to be picking this. Grumble, grumble, grumble. No reason for me. I've got a lot of cards in here that even I have not even pulled yet. And then I have some cards that I pull all the time. I've been pulling that. You guys who've been hanging with me, you guys know I pull this card almost every week. Yes, I pull 5 cards a week, right? But at least one a week. And yet there are cards in here I have never pulled yet. And how long have we been working with this? A year now we've been pulling cards, right? Because I spent a year putting the deck together and then another year since then. So, yeah, this is pretty incredible. But grumble, 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 right? The cards will show up when they're supposed to show up. But this keeps showing up. So, in that repetitiveness, right, we're not getting it. So, the first thing that comes to my mind, right, is community offers up a sense of belonging. The first thing that came to my mind is my community on my brand in my live shows where, you know, I understand it's not interviews. I'm not talking to anybody, and yet I am talking to everybody who kind of pops in and hangs out with me because I have this optimistic idea that this is my community, right? That I am meant to reach who I'm meant to reach. And I don't worry, right? I worry about what I do. I'm always grateful when people come in and hang out with me. I'm super grateful. I'm grateful for my community that comes in on my Sunday night lives, right? And that Sunday night live has been going on for, I think, 8 years now. And this crew shows up every single Sunday, right? Even when they're in the hospital, they show up. And when they're sick, they show up. And if they really are really out of sorts, they send me messages to say, sorry, Cindy, I can't. That is community, right? These are people I have never met, right? We meet in other ways, whether we're messaging or emails or well, I have had visitors, curiously enough, right? And when Sharon came up here, well, just before COVID there, and before I went to Ontario, but that was right in the midst of my life falling apart. I hadn't even begun to put it together. I was weeks. I think it was just like the eye of the storm. I had a couple of weeks break there, and then I went straight into it for another year before I was even starting to feel better, starting to feel like I could, feeling like I should, knowing that I would. Cindy the poet, you guys. But my community does appreciate me, and I appreciate my community, right? Because I'm just a part of that community as they are part of my community. It's just that we use this, right? It's like going to the cafe and going for coffee with your friends. This is what we do. And we just happen to gather on my channel. And I have to say, I have to take note that this word keeps coming up, but I also pretty much use the same reference to my community, right? So I have to take note. Why does this, right? It's not like I'm in the wrong community, right? This is. But it doesn't mean also that it's the only community. that it has to be the only community, that it should be the only community, and would be the only community. Oh, I'm in a silly mood today, you guys. But yes, community does offer up a sense of belonging, and it's important to have a community. I couldn't imagine that I'd be doing what I'm doing now if I didn't have the community that I have. Maybe not in that understanding that they can rally behind me, but they support me in the creation of the best human being Cindy wants to be. And that's ever changing. It's always changing, right? And that's the way I expect it to carry on in that, right? I don't feel that need or that want to slow down. But should I have to, I would. Okay, you guys. That's my good cheer. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.